welcome to the Comic Game Movie Show. My name is Deshaun, and today I'm here to review She-Hulk Episode 7. This is, I've been talking about this enough times on the channel, that She-Hulk technically has, out there, like, the most that any of the reviews critics have seen are seven episodes. Most people saw the first 4, but some saw the full, some saw 7. So, after this point, the next 2 weeks are no one really knows. Now, it has sort of kind of come out that Daredevil will either, like, we know Daredevil showing up, so that Daredevil will probably be showing up next week in episode 8 that we've kind of heard of. So we can kind of infer that something is going to happen in episode 8. And that these last 2 episodes will be the biggest episodes of the show by far. Like, these last 2 episodes will be the biggest, the bigger episodes of the show. But anyways, another week, this show has done the same thing, which is have subtle character growth and development with Jennifer Walters in the background of the comedy. And like I say, some people like it needs to be more clear and obvious to them. But like I said, throughout the course of the show, every episode, and like people don't notice it because people aren't looking for it, because people are looking for shit to complain about. But when you watch the show, it works a lot like, I said it before, like Rick and Morty. And I don't think that's a coincidence that a Rick and Morty writer wrote the show. But it works a lot like Rick and Morty. That's what this show really is like. The tone and / like the way the show is structured is like Rick and Morty. And like Rick and Morty, so many episodes can seem so pointless, can seem just self-contained and out of nowhere and just hijinks and just these crazy funny things, this crazy, like a slice of life episode that just so happens to be in this world, so it's over the top. Like for instance, even this last season of Rick and Morty that came out, there have been 4 episodes of the latest season of Rick and Morty that came out. Only 1 episode, and that was the first one, actually dealt with the lore and the direct consequences of the events of the last season. The last 3 have been all insane, up in the air, bubble, crazy, this thing happened on this date episodes. And that's how they built this show, is like that. It's like that sitcom format. And like a lot of sitcoms, like a Rick and Morty and whatnot, there is a through line, but it's in the background. And it's subtle. There are character growth and development, but like I said, it's subtle, it's done in the background, and honestly, just like Rick and Morty, all that character development / stuff really doesn't come to a head until the last few episodes, until the last episode or 2, when it's brought to the forefront and the growth happens. And I feel like, and I've said this before, that people kind of went into She-Hulk, because when it first came out, a lot of people were on board with it. Some were off, some weren't, but a lot of people were. I'd say most people were. And I think what most people thought was going to happen, like I said this in my last video, is that the show was going to have a tonal shift, and that the comedy sitcom aspect, that they came out up front and told you this is what this show is. It's why I kind of get frustrated with some people's anger and vitriol towards the show, because I'm like, they told you what this show was. If it's not for you, that's awesome. That's fine. Look, the Vampire Diaries wasn't for me. I didn't go ranting on the internet about the Vampire Diaries. I've said it, Game of Thrones, what they do in Game of Thrones, it's not really personally for me. You don't see me making videos about how much I hate Game of Thrones or something like that, because I don't hate Game of Thrones. But it's personally, it doesn't feel like it's for me. And that's one of those things, I'm like, why are people so angry and vitriolic? You know what I mean? Like, and they just keep making videos every week about it. And it's just like, dude, like, I'm not making, like, I started watching the Halo show on Paramount. And when I realized this show sucks personally to me, I stopped watching it. I didn't make a video every week talking shit about it. It's like, move on. If you really don't like it, then just move on. It's not for you. But you can't sit here and act like the show told you what it was. That it has this sitcom format. That the MCU was going for something different. And honestly, I honestly think that the irony that the MCU, which for phases 2 and 3 were heavily criticized for a few things, but one of the big things were all these films feel the same. All these movies look the same. Everything is safe. And then this entire phase 4 has been nothing but slingshots. Has been nothing but them throwing things out there. Has been nothing but them trying to be creative. And all they've gotten is grief for it. And She-Hulk is just another example of that. Now, rant aside, I very much enjoyed this episode. I very much enjoyed this episode. And it took a different... Actually, this episode was weird. Because it's filmed different than any other episode. I don't know if you noticed it. The way this episode is shot is different. Especially that opening sequence with Jen being all bubbly and kind of being in the honeymoon phase of dating that dude she met at the wedding. And every one of those scenes were filmed so uniquely. It almost like it was very, I think some people pointed out, it was very punchy and very snappy. And then the editing on it was really cool. It was one of those things that made me go, I wish they did this more. I like this editing. I like the way this is filmed. You know, the way it's cutting to her and the way it's getting these shots and, you know, and the way it was filming it was really cool. But obviously, what was being filmed was something sad because as it turns out, because the boy, they went on 3 dates and then they hooked up, which I feel like is the appropriate thing. And honestly, the show, this is another reason why the show is pissing some people off, because this show speaks directly to the female audience, and that's just it's just a thing. I've known about that, and I've noticed that since probably episode 2 or 3. I was like, this show really is more so speaking to a female audience, and that's something that Marvel never did before. All these shows kind of have that. Even Miss Marvel, it's speaking to a teen audience. Marvel never really did that before in the first 2 phases. They never really put a spike in the ground and said, this is who we're talking to. They tried to make every movie for everyone. Every movie, everyone can come and see this and have a good time. And phase 4, they've really started to do we're making this for a specific audience kind of thing. Well, not for a specific audience, but we're making this and we're aiming it towards this audience. Other people can, it's like Bridesmaids. Bridesmaids is regarded as one of the funniest comedies of all time. But you bet your ass that women have more fun watching Bridesmaids than dudes do. It's just how it is. Because it's about women and a wedding. So it's of course women have more fun and laugh at this a little bit more. That doesn't make Bridesmaids any less of a great comedy. It just means this is a comedy that happens to be more targeted towards women. And that's kind of how She-Hulk is. It's a comedy more targeted towards women. Because especially with that first part, every woman's greatest fear about when they're going on a date with a guy, when they put themselves out there, is to actually like this dude, really like this dude, and for it to turn out that he's just a fuckboy. That he's just a dude who's there to have sex, that he just lured her in, he just baited her in, had sex with her, and isn't going to return her calls or talk to her anymore. And now all those emotions she had, maybe not even falling for this guy, but really getting into this guy, it really screws with the woman's self-esteem in her mind. And that's kind of I feel like that's, most women understand that. Most women have that fear of when they go on a date with a dude. If it's legit, if they're out there, they're into this dude and they're looking for more than just sex, and it's not officially made that this is what it is, they got the fear that this dude's just gonna, hit it and quit it. And the fact that seemed at least at the beginning, that happened to her in the process of her mind. I understand the feeling of talking to someone, thinking things are going good, and not getting a text, and being just did I fuck up? Did I do something? And looking at your phone, and it's hard, dude. I've done it. Text too much, and you're if I don't say something, am I not concerned? If I do say something, am I clingy? I hate that. Worst thing anyone can do to another person is, really is to have a conversation, is hit it off like that, or have sex or something, and then just not respond to a text message that you've had from that person. That's the worst thing you can ever do, man. Because you just leave that person just twiddling in the wind. Just what the fuck? So I totally got her feeling there. But then we kick into something else where Blonsky comes back. Abomination comes back this episode. Jen has to go and check up on him. His fucking ankle thing that keeps him and Blonsky form was screwing up. She had to go check up on him, and in the process, she met other superpowered individuals dealing with internal struggles. And through this event, works through her stuff, and she has this moment that was greatly acted by Tatiana Maslany, where she really breaks down and talks about how she really feels about She-Hulk and the Djinn inside, and she has a fucking a coming to Jesus moment and a breathe in, breathe out kind of a moment. And really, this whole thing is a great fucking great shout out for mental health and therapy, because it can be helpful, dude. Like, honestly, I would probably go to I don't think I have too many mental, things going on, but even with that, I would probably go to a therapy session and stuff if I can afford it. But I'd probably do that, and that's a helpful thing. It's a helpful thing. Sometimes weird thing is, sometimes you feel more comfortable telling shit to strangers than you do your own family and friends and people who are important to you. Because a stranger's judgment is honest and it doesn't matter. Like a stranger, not any stranger on the street, but like a stranger who is here to listen to you and not judge you and just hear what you have to say. A stranger with no context of you, your life, whatever, just hearing what you have to say and giving their honest opinion, because it just lets you really get that off your chest, and she really needed to get that off her chest. So this episode did a lot with her growth as a person. I think that this is going to set up, her coming to terms with her She-Hulk form is going to set up her putting on the super suit, getting involved in becoming a superhero, figuring out what She-Hulk means to her. So this is another great episode. Had a great time with it. Some new fun characters. Had another funniest bit ever when she tells the story about Josh, and dude's just like, fuck that guy. Where does he live? I'm gonna kick his ass. I'm like, yes. Anyways, I give this episode another 8.5. Nothing in the 9s, nothing in the 10s, but another solid episode. Anyways, thank you guys for the Comic Game Movie Show. Please like, subscribe, and I will see you guys on the next one. Goodbye.